Jesus always seems to take what we think it should be, or the way we think it should be, or the order in which we think it should be. He just has this way of turning it upside down. And he does it again and again and again. It was 39 years ago, and it was the 22nd Sunday in ordinary time. I was a deacon at St. Charles Borromeo here in Fort Wayne. It was 39 years ago because I was a deacon. I had been preaching about 3 or 4 months at that time. And I preached on these readings. I had it all written out, and of course it was brilliant. And I was just sure that everyone in church was just hanging on every word I spoke. And I got about halfway through the homily, and you'll have to think this is almost 40 years ago. Geez, that means I've been through the cycle of readings 13 times now. Holy Mary, Mother of God. Just thought of that. Anyway, I'm delivering this outstanding homily, and they had an electric organ. It was in the old church, not the new church at St. Charles. It was in the first church, and I was doing all this. The choir loft was up in the back. They had electronic organ and everything else, and some teenager drove by in his car blaring his rock and roll stereo, which was picked up by the sound system in church, and I was wiped out. Well, so much for me. When it finally quieted down, which took a while as he went, I guess he was driving fairly fast anyway, I said to the people, now that is a humiliating experience. But a humiliating experience is not the virtue of humility. As a matter of fact, I might have a humiliating experience in my life, and it might have nothing to do with my becoming more humble. It could help me to be more humble. Maybe not. One thing you notice for certain, in the Gospels, Jesus never humiliates any person. He gets in their face, he challenges them, he calls them to change, he does all kinds of things, but he never humiliates one single person in the 4 Gospels. Never. That's not his method. And that's not really what the virtue of humility is about. I don't think it's about that at all. The virtue of humility that Jesus calls us to in the gospel reading today, and in the first reading especially today, which encourages us to humble ourselves, and that the greater we are, the more we need to humble ourselves. That Jesus in the gospel and Jesus in his own life lived this humility, this humble way. Think of people who we think are humble people. Mother Teresa. It, boom, just pops right into the head. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, tiny little woman, one of the most powerful people I ever met. She was in Fort Wayne in 1982. She kissed my hand because I was a priest. I didn't want to wash it ever. I have, don't worry. One of the most humble people I have ever met in my entire life. Think of Pope Francis, That's what people are saying about him now. He's a humble man. Very simple. Very, very much knowing who he is and what he is. And how those two are united. He's got that down. It's very fascinating just to watch. And doesn't mean anything bad about anybody else that went before him. Please. We're all different. This man is a humble man, and he knows it. He knows what his place is in life. He knows what God has asked of him right now in his life, and he's doing it. But he doesn't become somebody else to do it. He's doing it just as he is. He's humble. The secret, I think, of humility begins in how I regard my relationship with God. That's the beginning of it. It's the beginning of everything in faith. God is God, and I am not. God is creator. I am creature. God is independent of me. I am dependent on God. It's recognizing, it begins when I can recognize in myself that proper, ordered relationship. You and I spend an inordinate amount of time trying to be God in our own lives. It's the way I want it. I'll do what I want to do. I'll do it the way I want to do it. I will do this. I. Boy, we ought to recognize it right there that we're in trouble. The humble person is Jesus Christ, humbling himself, submitting himself to the will of his Father, even becoming poor to a death on the cross. That's humility. While we spend an inordinate amount of time comparing ourselves to others, while we spend an inordinate amount of time competing with others, and please, don't get nervous about this. Comparison to others and competitiveness are not bad in themselves, but they're awful when I make them my God. When I make them the thing that drives my life. When I look around at other people and I say, he got that gift. Why didn't I get that gift? How's come I'm not like that? Why didn't God give me that? Well, why does she have that talent? I don't have that. Well, why does he look so good and I don't? Or she looks so good and I don't? And all this kind of stuff. We waste more time on trash thinking. Comparison, competitiveness, they can be helpful, but they can be terribly harmful and hurtful in our own journey, in our own life. Humility is a virtue that helps us with that. Humility comes from the Latin humus. It means earth. It means I'm living a well-grounded life. Both feet on the earth. I'm solid. I'm steady. Pick up all the things that standing with both feet firmly on the earth, what kind of image to you? That's the beginning of the word humility. It's about being balanced. Humility, and remember the opposite of it is sinful pride. Humility, and the other side of it is a false humility that is not true, the other end of it. But it's to be able to stand in the presence of God and look in a mirror and be honest with myself, with yourself. Honest. An honest assessment of who I am, both the side I like and the side I don't like. Is to be able to say to God, thank you. I'm dependent, remember. Thank you for the gifts that you've given to me, for the graces, the blessings. It's that ability even to look at that other person that I deem in the brain here, they're better than I am. They're not better, they're different. But I think better, But it's to learn to look at that person even and to say, thank you for blessing them like that. How awesome that is. But it's to be able to look at God and say, you have given me some good gifts. Every single person in here has been blessed by God with goodness and good gifts. No exceptions. Everybody blessed the same? No. Everybody blessed different, not the same. Wouldn't it be boring if they were all like me? Well, maybe you wouldn't think so, but I would. Wouldn't it be boring if everybody was blessed the same like you? Think of all the things that would be missed that another person has that I don't have. Wow, it's awesome. But it's not only looking at that side of myself. Humility is looking at the other side, the weakness, the brokenness, the sin, the faults I have, the way I don't measure up to what God would expect of me. That's also humility. And you have to have both. When you live in the virtue of humility, which is a disposition, a virtue is a disposition to do the good. When you have the virtue of humility, you're balanced in that. You know what your gifts are. And you know where they came from. And you know what you're supposed to do with them. You're supposed to use them. How? To serve others. Oh, you got it down. You know your creature, he's creator. And you know your creature, he's creator. Because on this side, you have to go back to him and you have to say, I'm sorry. I don't have it together. This thing I cannot do. This thing I can't handle. And you have enough humility, even, here's the toughie, even to go to other people and say, I need help. I can't do this on my own. I need help. I need you. That's humility. That's Jesus Christ, who made himself on the cross poor for you. That beautiful responsorial psalm we just sang said, "O Lord, you have made a home for the poor, a home for the poor." He made a home for us in the humble heart of Jesus Christ.